The Connection Show. Inspiring hope, health, healing. Connecting the dots of your story and transforming your life. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops. Live with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And I'm in New York at the ReAwaken conference with General Flynn and Clay Clark. And in the media room, I just ran into Tom Renz. Welcome, Tom, to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Well, Tom, on the show, we'd love the audience to know your backstory about your life. So if you're willing, can you take us back to little Tommy? Did you get called Tommy? And what your life was like as a child and what you went through growing up, grammar school, junior high, high school, all the way to today.
I can and I will. And actually, no, not Tommy, Cowboy.
Cowboy. Okay.
So when I was growing up, we watched a lot of the old John Wayne and those sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And I loved the Cowboys. Loved them. So I used to, dress up and play cowboy all the time. I thought that was great. Interestingly enough, even back then, we didn't really, and actually, I have a bit of Native American blood in my bloodline. Not sure exactly how much, but definitely have some. And we would have the family stories from that side of the family. And so, we were cowboys, we were Indians, and I didn't really realize that they didn't always get along so much at the time. But, we did that. And by the way, in my family, that part of our bloodline was Indians. And if you don't like it, tough. That's just what we called it. So, growing up, I believed in heroes. Mm-hmm. John Wayne was a hero. He couldn't fly, but he was a hero, at least in his movies. He was always trying to fight for something. He was a broken hero. I mean, he wasn't exactly a saint. I mean, drinking and shooting people and all the things that he did, but he was always trying to fight for what he thought was best. And I think that was an interesting thing. I don't think I've really even ever thought about it that way, but the way that you asked that made me think of this. Mm-hmm. And I think it probably has some sort of a profound impact on my life in ways that I hadn't really thought about. But so, as an imaginative but very shy kid, I was super shy. My first day of kindergarten, I threw up everywhere because I was so scared to be around other kids, and I wasn't with mom and dad, and I was just terrified. Mm. The shy thing was a big thing. And as a young guy, I had like these really, really, really good grades and everything else, and in elementary school, and did really, really well, and then decided to rebel. And my rebellion was never. I never wanted to be mean or hateful. I always wanted to help people. Like that's always been something that was core to me. That's never varied. But my rebellion was more. At school, if I thought something was funny, I did it, which usually made the teacher mad. Pretty sure
So the class clown.
Yeah, I was something. So did that, but was still always. I never liked injustice, even as a kid. Injustice was not something I could stand by. I remember, I'll never forget, in high school, and I'm not going to give away the who's on this, but there was a situation where there was a disabled kid that was getting picked on. And I'm sure that I don't know what the diagnosis is, but he wasn't Downs, he was actually mentally retarded. I don't know what the medical terminology is at this point. But he was a really good kid. He was just a sweet kid. And, I always, as a young kid in school, like, they would mainstream the kids who were special needs, and I'd always be the kid, because I did, before I started rebelling, I always had, the straight A's and all that stuff. So they would always have me be the kid that worked with the special needs kids so that the teacher could continue teaching the class. Mm-hmm. And And so I just have always had like a real soft spot in my heart for that.
Yeah.
And so I remember one time this kid, he was getting picked on. And he was getting picked on really bad, and it was not acceptable. And it was by another kid who was related to one of the teachers, one of the staff of the school. And I remember it just made me mad. Man, I was mad. And you got to understand, this was in high school, and I was a big guy in high school. I mean, I was a big boy. I spent all my time in the gym. I was into sports. I was into this. I was a big boy. So I'm 6'4". I was one of the big guys.
Yeah.
So I remember I told this kid, I was like, you touch that kid again, I said, I'm gonna touch you, and it'll be the last time you get touched. And I embarrassed this kid really badly because I just was mad about him bullying. And he went off crying, and his parent, confronted me about that later. And I remember I hit the roof. I was and one of my vices to this day. I swear.
I do too. So we're probably a good team.
Yeah, there you go. So
I worked in the shipping industry for too long with truckers, and so I swear like a truck driver.
I think mine came from my grandpa.
Yeah.
My grandpa was he ended up doing other things, but for a period of time he was a truck driver, so I probably picked it up from him.
Yeah.
But I went off on this school member, and I was like, yeah, well, I'll be happy. I'll fight with it. You want to take this as superintendent or principal? I said, yeah. I said, because what that kid did was garbage, and I was just all fired up. And so I continued then for months afterwards. This staff member would give me all the trouble that this person could give me for a long time. And I remember another staff member who liked me saying, why don't you just apologize? And I said, what? He's like, just apologize. Why are you fighting this fight? You can't win this fight. Why are you fighting this fight? And I said, well, you know the story. Do you think I'm wrong? He's like, that doesn't matter. You can't win. I was like, that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter if I win or lose. I'm going to stand because it's the right thing to do. So I've been that way since I was a young guy. I mean, there were a lot of things, and I don't think a lot of people when I was a young guy would have realized how central that was to me. It wasn't something that I necessarily wore.
So when
on my
you
sleeve.
even played cowboys and Indians as a little boy, did you want to always be the sheriff?
No, I wanted to be the guy who was saving someone.
Okay. Well, a sheriff, I think of. I think of the old John Wayne.
Oh,
yeah. Or that, like you said, the hero.
Yeah. I always wanted. I never ever wanted to be anything but the hero.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the hero, and it wasn't because I necessarily had to be the hero, but
you wanted
someone
to
needed
help
be.
somebody.
That's what you do.
The underprivileged.
The best thing that you could do in your life to me was to help people. I grew up, our house was very faith-filled. We didn't go to church, but God was very much a center of our life.
Like, did your family read the Bible and stuff?
Mom read it a lot. Dad, but I mean, we prayed together every day. We did all sorts of things. I mean, it was a central part of our life. Mom and Dad actually, and to their credit, I don't know a lot of people that, I'm 45 now, and I don't to this day know a lot of people that do this, and it's a shame. But Mom and Dad would tell me, they would say, listen, we're your mom and dad. We make mistakes, so you follow God. And, boy, it took a lot of years for me to figure that out. Mom and Dad they're good people. It's an interesting thing. Like everybody else, they were imperfect and did things that were not perfect. But now, as I get older, I've learned to appreciate. And I went through a phase where I was kind of like, what about all these mistakes? But then I've learned to appreciate how hard it is to be. I'm a dad. I got a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old. And I've learned to appreciate how hard it is to sometimes know what's right or to be able to carry it out.
Yeah.
So
wow. So you're in this school, and now you've really made this one person pretty upset with you, and what you've done is right. And so how long were you in that environment? Like, what grade were you? Like, were you like a senior? Were you a freshman? And did you have to go through like 4 years of abuse from this person?
Well, it ended up, I know I wasn't a senior and I know I wasn't a freshman. I can't remember whether it was a sophomore or a junior. I just don't remember which one it was.
But it went ongoing?
For a fair bit. But, I'll say this. Mm-hmm. That particular person and I ended up getting along just great eventually.
The child that was...
No, the teacher.
The teacher, okay.
The staff member. To that person's credit, and I'm not even going to say whether it was a him or a her, that person ended up being a real good person who was just trying to defend their kid. And, I don't know what happened to the kid. I just didn't know him that well. But... and we ended up actually staying in contact afterwards for a bit of time. And just a good person who was just trying to look out for their kid and, thought that their kid had gotten wronged and probably, much like any other parent, didn't want to look at, the fact that their kid was kind of being a jerk.
Yeah.
But I took a bit of garbage for that for a fair while. It wasn't over in a week. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. So going through high school then, and then off to college.
Yep.
And ongoing. Did you ever go through strife in your life that led you into either drugs or alcohol or partying too much or anything that you felt that needed refinement later? Did you go through any of that period yourself?
So I had kind of an interesting path, and I think everybody does, but it's mine. So I was in high school militaristically disciplined. I went to the gym every day. I worked out as hard as anybody could work out. I was a good athlete, but I don't know that I was necessarily a natural athlete. I just worked harder than anybody else. And I was super, super dedicated and focused. And it didn't matter what happened. I stayed dedicated. I stayed focused. And it was just very, very single-minded. I never drank a drop in high school, not a drop. And that was by choice. And it was in part because I wanted to make sure I didn't need to. I had some alcoholism in my family, and I never wanted that. I saw what that could do to someone. No drugs or anything like that, not in high school. If I had, I don't know that an addiction. I caused all sorts of trouble, but it was like good-natured trouble. I wasn't a bad kid. I just was a clown, you know. And I got to college, and I decided, okay, well, I can handle drinking whenever I want to, and it's not something that I need to do to be social or to be friends or to make friends. And so if I want to have a beer, I'll have a beer. And so I probably drank way too much beer in college. But it was never any sort of an addiction or anything like that. I was always made sure, if I had to get my workout in and I spent too much time out the night before, well, I was suffering through it. So that sort of stuff kept me disciplined and kept me straight. And and I think that probably kept me out of trouble to an extent. I mean, I get in trouble, but nothing serious.
Yeah.
Where a lot of my strife came in was I had zero fear. And everybody says that they had no fear as a kid, but you got to understand, I mean, I broke everything. To the point where I was, constantly breaking things or injuring things. And some of it wasn't my fault. Some of it was stupid, it just depended. But so the summer, one of the, I guess, major things that occurred was the summer before my senior year of high school. I grew up along a river, and every spring we'd have to kind of clean up because there'd be floods, as the ice melted, and they would, trees and stuff would wash down the river, and they'd wash up, and we'd have to onto the property, and you'd have to clean it. I grew up in a very rural area, and one year we're cleaning up, and there's this just ginormous brush pile. It was a messy year, and we had a whole bunch more, and unfortunately some of the trees and the leaves that were in this brush pile were green. And so we did what we were what we would always do. We got to burn this down a little bit so that we can make the brush pile manageable and then continue cleaning up. And so, green doesn't burn, and there's a little bit of dry in there. So you went and get some kerosene. Kerosene's very slow burning as an ignition thing, right? If you grew up in land of hillbillies like I did, you'll know all about bonfires, and that gas blows up, kerosene.
And you're not supposed to do these.
Yeah. By the way, I don't recommend any of this. So we went and got, and I had this 5-gallon drum. It's that black letters on the side, kerosene.
Yeah.
Well, someone had mistakenly filled it up with gasoline. Now, kerosene will ignite slowly. Gasoline explodes. So my dad thought that I'd taken the can and left, but what I had really done is taken the can, went around the other side, and climbed in the middle of the pile so I could get some in the middle. And so he threw in the match, and it was gasoline, not kerosene, so the thing exploded, and it blew me up. And it was a big explosion. I got shot through the air like a cannonball, and major burns from the waist up. I mean, major burns. And just the pain was unbelievable. It was a flash explosion.
Wow. And how old were you then?
Summer before my senior year, so I'd say 17.
Wow. So were you in burn units for how long?
Longer than I wanted to be there.
Wow.
I don't remember exactly, but...
the pain has got to be excruciating.
Well, so the doctors explained to me that because it was a flash explosion, it had burned me deep enough that the skin was burnt down like a 3rd-degree burn, but because I had put it out quickly and jumped in the river, the heat didn't stay there long enough to kill the nerves. So it was like a 3rd-degree burn, but the nerves weren't dead. So the doctors explained to me at the time, they said this is literally the most painful thing anyone can go through. They said it's the only thing worse than kidney stones and giving birth. So it was, and they would, for anybody that's been through a burn or hasn't been through a burn, one of the big things is keeping it clean.
Yeah.
So every
there's
day,
no infection,
multiple, 4 or 5, however many times a day, you have to take the bandages off my whole upper body and scrub it down. And it was so painful that I would literally go unconscious. And it turned out that at the time, the only thing they could give you was morphine. I couldn't take it. I'm allergic to it. So when they, I found out when I got to the hospital, they gave me morphine. I didn't know I was allergic to it. And it made me so sick that it was just unbelievable. So we found out I'm allergic to morphine. So they couldn't actually even give me morphine. So basically they'd give me, they gave me whatever they had that was lower than that, and then gave me something to bite down on. And so, like 4 or 5 times a day, and they'd do it, and the pain was so bad I'd pass out. It was a really, really important experience for me. And one of the most important aspects of it was the recovery. So the pain, this, that, and other, that is what it is. Remember, I told you I was a big guy and how disciplined I was towards my workouts.
In the bodybuilding, yeah.
And I had done so good. I was doing really, really good. I'd beaten strength records and this, that, and other, and I'd put all this time. And as a 17-year-old kid, you identify with success. Like, that's who you are, right? Well,
and I want to pause. Bodybuilding is a huge issue when you do it intently around body image, self-image.
Yeah.
And when you have a burn on your body, that's a real big body image issue of what am I going to look like with my shirt off.
Yeah, that's true. Now, I wasn't into bodybuilding. It wasn't so much about how I looked as just being how good of an athlete could I be. But still that, how strong can you get? How fast can you get? How this, how that? And so I just like the personal challenge a lot. But all that I had worked for was suddenly gone, because a few months of bed rest will really, that wipes it out. It's gone.
You got to start all over again.
Yeah, so I'll never forget, and a very personal story, but the first day back to the gym, I go in and I'm working out, And, you know, if you've got new skin from a burn, it's like baby skin. It's very fragile. And I'm trying to do the weight, and I can't do any weight. And as my muscles are flexing, the skin is ripping, and I'm getting little streams of blood. And the whole thing was it was hell. And I went home that day, and you got to understand something. I'm not a guy who cries. Whatever, if you are, it's fine. I just am not. I've never been. The number of times in my life since I was a little one that I cried, you could count on one hand. And I've cried that day. And I remember, and I cried and I prayed to God. It's like, God, why'd you do this to me? Why this? Why that? Yeah, I was whining. And I remember, for no reason that I could point to even to this day, I was compelled to get up and go look outside. And it was a gray and dreary day. And I went up and I looked outside. And you got to understand, I was literally broken down talking to God and said, why? I went and looked outside, and through this gray, dreary day, there was a stream of light and a rainbow. And I heard God loud and clear. And you guys, you the listeners, you can judge for yourself whether God was talking to me or not. That's how I took it. Okay, maybe it's a coincidence, but I took it as God talking to me. Because he put in my heart, remember my promise to Noah. I haven't forgotten you. Mm-hmm. So I stopped, and I ended up, I will say that to this day, one of the greatest learning experiences of my life was that hell. And through difficulties, we learn to grow if we choose to take that path. You have two options when things go bad. You can stand and grow, or you can wither and die. And
that rainbow at that moment changed your trajectory to live and grow.
God taught me.
To live and grow.
He taught me no matter how rough it gets, you got two options, and it's time to fight. Wow. So I did.
And you've been fighting ever since.
Ever since.
And so thank you for that, vulnerability and sharing your truth with us. And so the audience, as we come to a close here, Tom, is through that fighting and that growth and being the type of person that loves to help those in need and those who maybe don't have a voice. You seem like the boy that didn't have the voice, the handicapped person at school. You've chosen a career path that kind of goes around that trajectory of helping, have you not?
God made me strong, and now I'm an attorney. And interestingly enough, and it was a circuitous route to get me to attorney. Boy, that's two more shows.
Yeah, we can do part 2.
Yep, but I'm an attorney, and I'm not afraid. Mm-hmm. And I don't care if I get knocked down because I've been through worse. Mm-hmm. And so, what people know me for is for fighting against the COVIDs, lockdowns, mandates, jabs, things like that. Mm-hmm. I've dedicated at this point every minute of the last 2.5, 3 years to fighting for freedom. Mm-hmm. And it's comprehensive, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life. I think God's taught me in this fight, just when I think I reach a limit, that to push through those limits, and He's taught me to continue fighting, and He's taught me that there's people who are probably stronger than me and probably better than me, but maybe didn't have the same opportunities to get beat up like I did. Yeah. And I say opportunities because they made me stronger. Yeah,
and so you become so. Tom, how can people reach out to you if they'd like to, talk to you about services? Do you have a website?
Yeah, renz-law.com.
renz-law.com.
I got a Substack that you can reach there. Yeah, I got a Truth Social account you can reach there.
And what I'll do, too, is get that from you.
Yep.
And then we'll put that on the show as well.
Well, and I'm grateful. And you know what? This is a really neat show because, at this point, I do so many interviews and so many things, But I think that if there's one thing that's important, see, I'm a nobody. I'm not a big shot who when this COVID thing came out, I used my power as a big attorney to do this and that and other. I was a nobody with a little practice that no one's ever heard of. My story is what made me who I am. The courage that I had, the fight that I've done is because of who I am. And if there's one thing that I want people to know, and when I speak and when I go on these shows, I always try and remind people, I'm a nobody. I stood. So these are a few of the things that made me a nobody that would stand.
You're a nobody who's become a somebody because you're a child of God now who has trusted God, has used his strength in your life to continue to grow. And through his strength in you, you take that strength and help others.
God has given me everything good that I have. And occasionally he's given me some things that might have at the time seemed bad, but ended up being very good.
Yeah.
And when I listen to him and do what he says, it always works out well.
Yep.
Every time I try to deviate, it just goes in the toilet. So,
yeah. Well, we're so grateful you came on, and we really appreciate you being vulnerable today. And thanks so much, audience, too, for joining us on the Connection Show, where we continue to have shows to inspire hope, health, and healing in the world. So thank you so much, Tom, for joining us and coming on board.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, it was so nice to be able to hear and learn more about Thomas Renz and everything that he's done in his life and his background in his childhood. So thanks so much, Thomas. We'd love the audience to know your bio. So I'm going to put your bio on the screen and your website, which is Renz, RENZ-law.com. So you can reach out to Thomas anytime. So again, thanks so much for joining us on the Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing in the world. Ladies, we'd love to invite you personally to a getaway experience where you can unwind from busyness and stress in your life and just relax at this beautiful beach here in Aruba at this private villa. So we'd like to share a little bit more about that with you through this video, and then learn a little bit more about hydration in your life so that you could have better hydration. Before we do, though, I'd like to mention that Thomas is on the tour with the ReAwaken America tour that's been going around the country. The next event that they're hosting, ReAwaken America, is in Idaho. It's coming up on September the 16th and 17th on the border of Washington State and Idaho, right about 30 minutes away from Spokane. You can still get limited tickets are still available by going to thrivetimeshow.com. That's thrivetimeshow.com, or texting 918-851-0102. Now, when you order your tickets, please make sure you heard about it from Jill Reynolds, that's my name, from the Connection Show, and ask them to give you a discount, and you'll get a VIP pass to a personal meet and greet to meet the speakers. The promo code you want to use is Braveheart. Braveheart is the promo code. Now, if you can't make Idaho, next stop will be in Pennsylvania on October 21st and 22nd. So you can still get tickets for that. Again, use the promo code Braveheart and mention you heard about it on the Connection Show with Jill Reynolds. So I'm sure that you will love these tours. They're amazing. So many people come to know God if you're a Christian and get baptized and learn so much about what's going on in the country. So I hope you'll join the ReAwaken America tour, and you'll hear from Thomas Renz there. He'll be speaking. He's one of the speakers as well. So thanks again for joining us. And ladies, we hope to see you in Aruba.
Join us for the hope, health, healing Aruba Woman's Getaway. October 26th to to November 1st, 2022. Are you overworked? Feeling stressed out or exhausted? Is it time to spoil yourself? Relax and breathe in life. At a beautiful private villa in Aruba for 6 nights and 7 days. Renew your mind and body. Discover greater self-awareness. Joining in connection, wellness, stillness, enhancing your inner peace. And reboot you. Experience amazing beaches. Enjoy snorkeling. Area attractions. Shopping till you drop. Beachfront dining. Imagine releasing anxiety. Reconnecting with self. Restoring your soul. Bring your friends and savor delicious home-cooked meals. Create lasting memories. Join us now. Register today. Book your flights to Aruba for a getaway October 26th to November 1st, 2022. Register by going to braveheartworkshops.com. That's braveheartworkshops.com. We'll see you in Aruba.
Hydrogen is used by health professionals as a powerful antioxidant and the #1 tool to fight inflammation. Studies show therapeutic potential in cancer, diabetes, digestive, and heart issues, and essentially every organ and system in the body. This is not medical advice, because I'm not your doctor, but if you have any health concerns, I strongly recommend that you learn more about hydrogen. Get educated at holyhydrogen.com and order the best hydrogen generator known to man. Use code BRAVEHEART for $100 off your order. Because hydrogen is the smallest molecule in existence, it can pass through the cell membrane and even the blood-brain barrier to clear out inflammation and free radical damage where other antioxidants just can't get to. Visit holyhydrogen.com to see the latest technology that elevates your immune system and fights inflammation. Search their research library to see if hydrogen has a track record for helping a health concern you're dealing with. Make sure to use code BRAVEHEART for $100 off your order. Remember, holyhydrogen.com.
Thanks for joining us today on The Connection Show, where we bring you stories that will transform your life. The Connection Show would appreciate your support. Please go to either our Patreon page or our PayPal Me Now link today. We love our podcast show guests and appreciate our listeners and YouTube subscribers. Please go to our YouTube channel called The Connection Show and Braveheart Workshops and subscribe now. Remember to click the gray bell in the All tab so you don't miss any upcoming episodes.